studying currently, right? And you might have to do some projects, or in future you will be looking for jobs and all. So for that, you might be wondering like what all components are there and which components you should be start developing or you should do project on, right? So if we divide an electric vehicle, then major on the top thing, if we check out like which all components are available, are present inside an electric vehicle, then these are few of the components, like the battery pack, which we can say the energy storage of the vehicle. Then the battery management system. This battery management system is responsible for protection of the batteries. Protection of batteries, then increasing the life of the batteries. If I just give you an example why this BMS or battery management system is important, because for a lithium ion battery pack which are used in the electric vehicles nowadays, you can't use them until and unless you have a proper BMS with it. If you are not using a proper BMS, then the life of the battery will substantially be degraded. So it is very much necessary that you have a very proper, a very good quality of battery management system. Then only your cost of the battery, because you might be knowing that 40% of the cost of the vehicle is just the cost of the battery. That is known, right? And just imagine if the battery gets degraded very fast, right? Then the overall operating cost of the vehicle will be very high, and in very short period of time, in a year or year and a half, there is a possibility that to you have to replace, or you have to replace the battery pack in the vehicle, right? So that's why this BMS is very important. The next thing is motors and its electronics. So motors normally used are BLDC motor, then permanent magnet synchronous motors, or induction motors, or even switch reluctance motors are also possible to use, right? Then uh, for these motors, now these motors are all synchronous motors, or we can say they are AC type of motors, like alternating current motors, and they work at a higher frequency, right? So as they work at a higher frequency, and you need to maintain a proper sequence of pulses to work these motors. For that, electronics is a must, and in this electronics we call it as a motor controllers. The electronics which is responsible to operate the motor, we call it as a motor controller. Inside this motor controller, there are various modules, like inverter module is there, then voltage sensing, current sensing module is there, then Hall effect, speed sensors are there, encoders may be there, right? Motors can also be sensorless motors. For those sensorless motors, you need to write a very good algorithm, a field oriented control algorithm to control these motors, right? For especially BLDC or PMSM type of motors, you need to do it, right? So what does these motors do? These motors are responsible for converting the electrical energy to the mechanical energy. So the electrical energy which is converted into the motion, that is the work of this motors. Normally in any of the vehicle, this is the basic, we can say, the reason why we need to keep a motor inside a vehicle for our motion, right? Then comes the chargers. Now these chargers, basically, if I say, when we discharge the batteries with the help of motors, because when we operate the motors, it requires charge, or it requires energy. That energy is normally taken from the batteries. So when the battery gets completely discharged, then again we need to charge those batteries. because all these lithium ion batteries are secondary type of batteries. They are not primary type of batteries. Secondary batteries mean that they are rechargeable batteries, right? So we need to again charge those batteries. Now, how to charge those batteries? For that, we need to have a special electronic or a power electronic device that we call it as a chargers, right? So this, because directly we know that why we need a charger. You can directly use a 220 volt AC to charge the batteries, but our batteries are not necessarily working on 220 volt, and our batteries are of DC type, direct current type, right? And batteries voltage can be either 36 volt or 48 volt, 72 volt, 96 volt, right? So first of all, what we need to do, we need to convert this AC 220 volt which is available in our socket to its required voltage, which is required actually by the batteries to get charged up. So there, these chargers are required. And specifically for lithium ion batteries, there are specific chargers. You need to apply a specific algorithm. Only then a proper charging will occur inside the battery. Then comes the vehicle control unit. Basically, this vehicle control unit, we can compare it as the brain of the vehicle, or we can say the spinal cord of the vehicle, because it connects each and every parts of the vehicle. Maybe like the vehicle control unit, it connects motor controller, charger, it even communicates with the battery management system, other peripheral devices like horns, lights, and all other things, right? So that's why we need to make sure that this vehicle control unit is properly developed, right? So this is also like in two-wheeler applications and all that. Majorly, this vehicle control unit may or may not be there, but definitely for four-wheeler applications in electric vehicle and above, always this vehicle control unit is necessary.